Hello, what's good, everyone? My name is Money Mikes. You might have seen me in the Discord. We might have seen me in the chats when CMP does his lives. Um, and I'm going to talk a bit about Summer Walker and the Summer Walker album and basically what it means to me, what it means to the world of music beyond me. Um, so, Summer Walker, if you have been following her journey, you'll know kind of how really rapid it's been and how far she's gone from where she was to being basically the queen of R&B. And here's why she's the queen of R&B. So leading into 2021, um, the heir apparent to that throne was her, Gabby Wilson, with her last two projects. She it was basically the bag was hers to fumble. She had all this anticipation about her debut album because she's got 2 Grammys and she hadn't even had an album out. Simply similar to Chance the Rapper. You know, RCA, the label over there, they've put all this money into her, all this hope on her shoulders. Everyone that likes R&B loves her. Like, no one has a bad thing to say about her. I really don't have many bad things to say about her either. And so everyone was kind of holding their breath for this debut album. On the side was also SZA. And now SZA has never been a pure R&B artist. That's something that isn't discussed much. She gets placed in the R&B category because she's black and a woman, but she makes a lot of indie, she makes a lot of electronic. However, on her last album, she did have some R&B cuts. The Weeknd, which was the most popular song on that album, was an R&B song. So she was always in contention too. So SZA, for me, was a much bigger artist than her for the simple fact that her had never yet had that breakout album. As far as her is concerned, all her previous projects were more like mixtapes or EPs. And we're in the era where everyone does this thing of I release 5 EPs and then I release my quote unquote debut album, and this is the one I put the most care and energy and really budget into. So that was the landscape. SZA had an amazing album with Control. That album is extremely iconic. You know, I'm pretty tapped into what the women listen to, because, and this is a trick from the back in the days, what the women listen to and what the women are feeling, that dictates really what one, what's hot, and two, what lasts. And so the women really, really resonated with Control and what SZA was saying and singing about on her last project. And so she was a bigger artist than her. However, her was pure R&B from the get-go. Her has had all this anticipation behind her name. And that was kind of her downfall, honestly, with her last project. So what happened with her last project was everyone was anticipating this R&B masterpiece that was about to just blow the lid of R&B. She was going to go number 1. She was going to be the most successful R&B artist in a decade. She was going to plant herself as the leader of this era of R&B. And unfortunately, RCA has had her for over a decade. Like she signed when she was like 14 or something like that. It was back in 2011. And they've been developing her, they've been working with her. Then she came out with her first little mixtape in 2016 or 17, I think it was. And then what happened is she's had this rapid ascension. But what happens with that is when you have an artist that does that in that way, for her to get Grammys, for her to do the Super Bowl performance without an album out, mind you, the only way that happens is if a label puts a ton of money behind you. She's an industry plant, basically, and I don't say that in a negative or disparaging way. I actually think that we need to re-examine the conversation around industry plants, because industry plant is just a marketing tactic by a company that wants to make a profit in the marketplace. Like Michael Jackson was an industry plant, if we really go back, because Berry Gordy, when they discovered him, they pretended that Diana Ross discovered him because that was a good message for the marketing, and it worked. It blew him up. So with her being an industry plant, with her having all this money behind her, huge budget, gets features with whoever she wants, does the Super Bowl performance, gets the Grammys. But at this point, the label is kind of looking at her like, okay, we need to recoup. We need to make a profit. And so what we got from her debut album was basically a bunch of playlist whoring recoupment mids. Like, they had her doing a Coil Ray impression for just no good reason. No one understands why. With Lil Durk, because the problem is RCA is the most prolific label for R&B right now out of all the labels. But for whatever reason, their parent company, Sony, does not believe in R&B very much. And so they have forced her to do all these trap records and all these TikTok songs. And they did the song with Chris Brown and Gabby Wilson. Her whole thing was the mystique, right? When she came out, like, no one knew what she looked like. Then when she finally revealed her face, she was always wearing the sunglasses. Suddenly, we're seeing her cheeks everywhere. They've tried to add the whole sexual element in there. And it's because they're doing everything they can to try and recoup that money. But unfortunately, the effect it's had on the music is the music didn't land. So what we get is her debut album. What did they do first week? First week they did... Yeah, first week they did 36,000. I know some people think it's corny to look at the numbers. Honestly, numbers are a metric. It's worth looking at. Those are Dave East numbers. Dave East numbers from the person that's meant to be the leader of the whole genre. So that's very worrying, because here's the thing, like, if her comes out with an R&B album and it does amazingly and it blows up the charts, what happens next is the label say, oh, okay, R&B is profitable, so we're going to invest a whole bunch of money in R&B, and the next thing you get multiple R&B acts. The label hasn't really loved R&B since like the 2000s. So as someone myself who loves R&B, I was really looking to her to be the one to blow the lid and get us that investment, because when she succeeds, the whole scene succeeds. So that's the landscape against which Summer came. And now Summer, last project out, she did pretty good numbers too. Like, her album was really, really well received. And that album was Over It. And so off the back of that, like, she blew up on SoundCloud, first of all. She blew up on SoundCloud with Deep and Girls Need Love. Girls Need Love blew up because Drake heard it and he gave her the stimulus package. And then she signed to Love Renaissance Records. And off the back of that, she released her next EP, which was Clear. People really liked Clear. Over It was kind of very trap heavy. And the reason for that is London on the Track produced the whole thing. And London on the Track is a producer who basically wifed her up when she wasn't that famous yet. And yeah, he saw an opportunity and he invested, basically. And so we got a project that was just completely produced by him. Now, that's actually another reason why Summer Walker should be so important to us as producers. Because if we go to Over It real quick, we go to the track listing. What you'll see is London on the Track, London on the Track, London on the Track, whole thing, literally all the beats. This is it's an 18 song album, and 16 songs with him. 16 placements, one album. That he's lived the dream. He's lived the dream of that we all have or should have of, okay, I have an artist that I really like, that I work closely with. We've come together, we've made an album, and that album has done numbers and gone platinum. Because this album did go platinum. So that's the backdrop against which he dropped. People were really anticipating this new album. And I have to say, unlike her, Summer really delivered here. In fact, this album is better than Over It by virtually every metric. And across the board, people agree. On release day, the timeline was awash with just women tweeting about the album, how much they relate, how much they were feeling it, how much they were going to call their baby dad and cuss him out. Again, I told you, listen to the women, because the women will tell you what's hot and what's going to stay relevant and what's going to last. So on day one, just from the sheer energy that the women had, I just knew that this project was going to go number one. There was just no way. So, we come to now, still over it, number one. I think it did 166,000 first week. It's pretty phenomenal. And so, as a result of that, knowing that it was going to go number one over the past week since it came out, me, myself, Shane, we've been working very hard to give you some products and tools that will help you to emulate that. Because, like I told you guys, when an album goes number one, when an album sells this well, the next thing the labels do is they invest in that sound. And so it's about to get very lucrative for anyone who is capable of making beats that sound like they'd be for Summer Walker, or emulate the same style. And so we wanted to give that to you, because not everyone is capable. Like, let's be honest with ourselves, R&B is a little bit more technical and more difficult to produce than trap. And so we're giving you all the chords, whether you use scalar, ripchord, or just normal flat MIDI. We're giving you those. We're giving you all the drums. We gave you a drum kit based on the album, not just this album actually, but hers entire back catalog. Not her, Summer's entire back catalog. We're giving you the drum MIDI, so you know how to do R&B drums. There's a bunch of acoustic stuff on there, and there's a bunch of trap stuff on there. We gave you the arrangement templates. Not only did we give you the arrangement templates, but we gave you the arrangement templates with vocal arrangements. Because here's the thing, you can't just do with an R&B singer what you do with a rapper. With a rapper, it's very simple. You do your leads, you do your ad-libs, you might do some stabs to emphasize certain words. With R&B, you have harmonies, you have backgrounds, you have all kinds of layering that if you aren't already clued up about, it's going to be very daunting and very difficult for you. But we've given you a roadmap so that when you go to take your beats to that cute girl that lives around the corner, who sings and wants to be like Summer Walker, you know how to layer her vocals. You know where the BVs need to be. You know how many layers, how many harmonies are in the chorus. And so what you want to do is you want to head over to cmpkits.com. All of the newest drops are right here. So as I said, we have the arrangement arsenal that's with vocal arrangements. So it has an arrangement so you can tell where you need to put the different parts of the band, where you need to put the drums, where the beat drops out. And it also has all the vocal arrangements. So you can tell where to put the harmonies, how many harmonies you need to put, how many layers you need to record, etc., etc. If there's some popularity with this one, I actually don't mind doing a little vocal production course for you guys as well, for those who want to get into R&B. And we're back. Okay, so I'm going to play you just the instruments from No Love, and then I'll explain my philosophy as I was creating this sample. Okay, so first thing I noticed listening to that is the main instrument in there is the piano. And so I knew mine need to be piano based, and then it has that high kind of bell sound that plays the high notes in the melody. And then other than that, there's kind of all this atmospheric stuff that's moving around and basically giving it space, giving it character, giving it vibe. And that's where basically you have an opportunity to freak it. So if I was to remake this sample, I would take the piano and I would know I need some kind of high bell sound. And then other than that, the way I create space and vibe is just, it's down to my own style, down to my own taste. It's how you freak it. And this is where we get to a point of saying, okay, we're not remaking beats like kids. What we're using is we're deploying the tools that we have to make something inspired by, but different enough that I can now go and give this to another artist, and it's not going to sound like I got a dollar store version of that song I like. Now, of course, the way I actually play the sample first, and then I'll explain kind of what I did with it. So that's the sample. Let me go through the instruments and kind of in which order I added them. So if I mute this, started with the piano. It's just a standard piano. I think I got it from Analog Lab or Omnisphere, one of these. And then I ran it through my pedal just for a little bit of vintaging and character. Then the main thing is I put backmask on it because I could hear some swelling and kind of reversing in the original sample, and I wanted to emulate the same thing. I've got it on half a bar as the rate, 30.4, and this is how it sounds. Without backmask, it actually sounds like this. So by itself, that sounds like it could be the beginnings of a sample, right? And the way I did that was I opened up Ripchord. I have all my presets in here from Summer Walker's album, Still Over It. If I put it over here. Still Over It, Session 33, Screw In, Reciprocate, went to No Love. Then because I didn't want to make something that was just obviously straight from No Love, instead of playing the chords 1 then 2, I actually reversed it. So if I play them along with this, what you need to do when you're doing this is you need to, with your routing, you need, first of all, Ripchord and whatever channel you're playing into, they need both of these selected. Actually, you can take the record off this, but it needs this on. On Analog Lab, I've got a piano loaded up. It needs that on too. And then literally it's as simple as, and you could hear, those are the chords from the song, right? Now, me being me, again, I'm not trying to make a remake of the song. I'm trying to make something inspired by the song. So as soon as I'd done that, what I did was I pitched it down and changed the key as well. So I had my chords like that. And then if I, let me actually pull the piano MIDI down, go into my MIDI files. All right, so it was Omnisphere I used. So if I solo this real quick, what I did was I got my chords and then I just moved some of the notes back to make my melody. So the way it would be, the way it would have come out once I pitched it down was this. I wouldn't have these passing notes. Passing notes are really important. Learn how to play them. So those are the chords I got from Ripchord. Now it's as simple as this. I moved this one back here. This one, I want to say here. Suddenly you've got a melody. That's how you get melodies out of your chords. So with real piano players, what they'll do is they'll play their chords with their hands and then they'll use their fingers in the exact positions that they are and they'll make melodies out of it. So that's the principle I was taking there. So anyway, that's how I did the piano. Now, sorry, so we unsolo the piano. Throw a back mask on it. Now the next thing I added in was this melody here. So originally I just did the second half, and that was actually meant to be to emulate that high note that you get in the Summer Walker song, right? Now the patch I used for this was actually something from Pupil of Society, who's another one of the creators over at CMP Kits. He made this pack for Mellotron. How do I make this bigger? So he made this bank for Mellotron. It's in here. Go to my banks. It's called Zenith. It's really, really good. What did I use for this? I used the Magic Beans preset. It's phenomenal. Works every time. So that just gave me what I needed if I solo it. So I think what I did was I played these high notes first, and then I just played something an octave below to kind of support the sound. Oh, that's one thing I should actually bring up. The reason why I have so many sounds here is because if you listen to the Summer Walker, the instruments alone, if we have a listen again. There's always a lot going on, and this is based on a principle called the wall of sound. Now, most people won't have heard of the wall of sound unless you're kind of clued up, but it was coined by this guy Phil Spector. He used to do the Beatles. He used to produce all their songs, and they were trying to chase the Motown sound. They couldn't get it, but what they did kind of learn was that the hit songs, the most popular songs, they have kind of this wall of sound, and that's like so much so that sometimes it's difficult to tell all the different instruments apart. But it feels like there's no gaps in the frequency spectrum. It feels very full and very in your face the whole way through the song. And so I was trying to get to the same kind of fullness and thickness, and that's basically why I made or added all the layers I did. Even though I'm someone who believes that you can make a beat with 3 sounds, like Pharrell. There with the Summer Walker album, they obviously went with the wall of sound theory. They did the whole thing where it's kind of they're all mushed together and you can't tell all the exact sounds. So that was the philosophy behind what I did. So if I play the keys and this lead, so the next thing I added was this lead again from the Zenith pack by People of Society. Again, that's all on cmpkits.com. Go ahead, look at the instrument banks that they have on there. Let me actually see if I can find it. Yeah, here we go. Zenith, $27. Small price to pay for elite sounds. And actually, you might be here because you're interested in R&B. There might be some of you that want to make Travis Scott beats. This pack is way better for Travis Scott beats than for R&B. Like, for R&B, I'm adapting because the sounds are just cool anyway. And if you have cool sounds in your stuff, people are going to feel it. But, like, the stuff literally sounds like the Don Toliver album. If you play through some of those sounds, you will hear, some of those, especially the stuff from, like, Flocky Flocky. Or Flacky. I don't know how you Americans pronounce it. But that was a preset called Go Marching, which is in that Zenith pack. It just bolsters the sound a little bit. And at this point, I decided I needed some bass, so I added one in. Very simple bass line. Then I added another high pluck because I felt like I wasn't getting quite as much of the high notes as I wanted. Already we've really added to our wall of sound here. We've added to our wall of sound and it's starting to sound really good. Then the next thing I did was really just to further bolster some of this. So I went back and listened to the Summer Walker song again, and I noticed like the keys, there's this kind of low swell that supports the piano. So I just made one of those real quick. Probably hear it better without the bass. Just add some arse to those piano melodies. And then this pluck, which is just kind of a cool, it adds a little bit of attack to the keys as well. So I didn't feel like I had enough like modulation and whooshing sound, so I just added that in to give the full effect. So if I add the bass back in, and I'll A-B it. cool thing that you can do is now it's in a position where I have everything except the bass going to this bus right here, right? And what you can do is you can pitch it up, sound shifter plus 12, and then put halftime on it. And what it's going to do is it's going to sound close to the song, right? Because that's kind of London on the Track produced a lot of these songs, and he obviously comes from trap, and we know that's the trap workflow, right? We pitch things up and put halftime on them. Sometimes we don't even pitch them up first. It just depends on the song, really. But here's with the halftime one. Yeah, so that's where we got to. And so I'm gonna go ahead and flip this sample into a beat. Right, so I've just taken about 15 minutes to flip that sample that I made into a beat. This is gonna give you a good idea of how the Summer Walker drums sound from the R&B Industry slap pack. I used the exact same drum MIDI from No Love that we gave you in the Summer Walker Creator Bundle. I think I swapped out some of the hi-hats with other hi-hat MIDI because I didn't just love the one from that song. And yeah, I think I used some halftime on the sample at some points, and you'll hear that as well. But without further ado, let me play this. So yeah, that I hope you've enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, etc., etc. Go cop that pack if you like what you hear, or you want to make, beats in the style of Sam Walker, or if you think you can do better as well. This will speed up your workflow for sure. But yeah,